AGM with initiation. Takes down Halfdan. Mark's going to fall here as well. They don't lose the lead on the attack. It's a triple kill for Weehaw. The Cleveland Cruiser arrive for the down. They pull it.
You've seen your last sunrise.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Summit for China, where we just got done witnessing Tongfu. Big upset in game number 1, Godz.
Yeah, surprised to kind of see it after their really weak showing in the Frankfurt Major qualifiers and Ehome's just dominance in the Chinese scene leading up to their indirect invite there. So Ehome have their work cut out for them against a team you wouldn't expect them to struggle against.
Definitely a team, like if you're just, doing your March Madness style brackets and penciling in your expected winners, Ehome is on 99% of the brackets. But here they are, trailing 0-1 in the best of 3. Who would have thought? Let's see what the teams are cooking up for us in game number 2.
Yep. And again, we'll see Tong from the Radiant side. They really just don't like playing the Shadow Fiend. They're going to first pick Queen of Pain once more. And Ehome mix things up a little bit. They don't go for the Spirit Breaker Undying. They're going to get the Tusk instead. And I think this is, to me, 11's best hero. He plays such a good offlane Tusk. And the Undying last game felt a bit underwhelming. Just didn't really have the early game impact you'd want from the hero.
It's just kind of a risky pick in general. If you don't get a lot out of those early engagements, like he doesn't give you any lockdown, there's no reliable team fight control, you don't have the scouting of a sigil, you can't path block heroes, you're entirely relying on a big tombstone later on.
Yeah, and he felt very much like a support because he maxed out the Soul Rip early as well, so it was like they had him in a support-esque role, they had the Phoenix playing a support-esque role, and they had, what was it, who's the other pick they had? They had another kind of support type hero as well, Spirit Breaker, who was also kind of playing a pseudo support. So they just had no real firepower, which is what the Tusk can give you in certain situations with the Walrus Punch, but then he can also give you the lockdown as well.
Viper the choice for Ehome.
Wow.
One of the few teams that actually run this hero.
Yeah, that's not surprising because it's Ehome, but just not a hero you'd normally expect to see in competitive Dota, I guess.
Someone who, I guess, can win the lane versus Quap in air quotes, but then you have a Viper on your team. You always got to find a way to keep the slow flapping Manta Ray relevant later on.
And Tongfu send the Quap to any of the 3 lanes is the other thing, where you never know you're going to be guaranteed that matchup. Won't be an offlane Quap with the Clockwork pickup, unless they really try and switch up their lanes, but could still go either mid or to the safe lane with the pick.
Now the 4th pick for Ehome. The Viper already grabbed, so does free them up for a stronger late game hero potentially for C2Y if they want. One big hero guns that is out there is Ember. Surprise.
Oh yeah.
He normally doesn't get this far.
And gives you some good kind of face rush to combine with the Tusk if you want to get aggressive and take the fight to Tongfu. Lane works pretty well against the Clockwork. Not exactly a great matchup being another melee hero, but with the solid range support, you can definitely zone him out there. Although, I mean, Ehome for the most part have been picking a lot of these melee supports, and last game they had a support Phoenix, which is just ultimately pretty weak, doesn't really offer much in the early game, and it does feel like kind of like some past Ehome squads where they're just picking some heroes which just aren't really in the meta game and for legitimate reasons. Like Phoenix just doesn't dish out enough damage.
The RTK Tidehunter picks.
Yeah. Even if you go way back to like the Ehome team with like Mushi and Inflame, like they would just pull out some weird drafts which sometimes worked out okay, but there was probably a lot more misses than hits as far as some of their weirder drafts are concerned. So I definitely like to see them just go into like a more standard zoning, strong lane support to go with whatever hero they get for CTY. I guess if you're doing a safe lane Viper, maybe that's where you don't need the strong support as much, but then you need something in the mid lane which can snowball.
Well, they've already got one snowball. It's a good start for Ehome.
All right.
Let's see. Doesn't have to be a Viper mid. Definitely could be their safe laner if they want to grab somebody else. TA also still out there if Ehome are looking for a little Roche potential. Not a terrible matchup versus the Quap if played well. We've seen most players try to get that early sentry to mess with the meld dodges, but yeah, Ehome really taking their time here, moving into picks 4 and 5. Looks like 11 reconnected, and oh, that was definitely not on the radar. Visage grabbed up.
So, not the strongest zoning support, but it's something Ehome have run and had consistent success with. Lanham played this a lot during the Nanyang Championship China qualifier, so we'll see this at least with some zoning potential, a lot of early to mid-game firepower, and pretty good against the Clockwork as well, and also provides damage. Which thing I looked at their first 3 picks, I'm like, man, how are you actually like getting kills and just playing the mid-game without any real follow-up to the Tusk Snowball, and Visage with Soul Assumption does give you, as well as the Familiars, gives you much-needed burst damage.
Are we looking for... oh, yeah, I mean, it's a clock quap. Doesn't really seem like a Drow game.
Probably not. Drow
just clock alone is just so bad for Drow.
Yeah, this... I don't think you could fit in the Drow here. And normally in the past, they're just happy to
Do
run
they
the
run
Visage
Lycan?
without. CQI has played a bit of Lycan, for what I can remember. Get the Howl Familiars. It's always a nice little bit of synergy. And
It definitely could be a casual Visage, though. That's still possible. Maybe TA is the more likely pick.
I think TA is solid. They've got plenty of lockdown with the Tusk and Spirit Break already, as well as the Familiar stuns. And TA gives you some more follow-up burst damage. It's very single target focus at that point, like Nether Strike, Viper Strike, Soul Assumptions, and then TA, Meld Strikes. Like, it's all just these one hero target spells, which may be a bit of an issue where you want to have some AoE damage for your team fight.
Looks like Tongfu were expecting the mid Viper. They're going to ban out a Juggernaut. And it will be the Ember. Okay. So we mentioned this early, but it seemed like maybe Ehome wanted to go another way. So they will go back for the Ember last pick. And the good news is Tongfu already picked their supports, so can't easily counter this with, like, say, a Disruptor grab.
So yeah, Telekinesis, a Quap Orchid in the mid game, and I guess Clockwork with some lockdown if you get the hook, and then later on the Cogs push. But last pick for Tongfu may be something with extra lockdown to do with Ember.
I feel like they wanted Spectre, but this Ember Spirit pick may be giving them pause.
Yeah. And they'll get... Now you see the Ember, like, oh, 10 to 15 minutes in, they're going to be rushing at us, fighting a lot, so Spectre could be hard to pull off. You want something with a bit more firepower,
Anti-Mage also doesn't seem good against Spirit Breaker Ember. Just so much lockdown for him.
Yeah, Spirit Breaker has always been one of the better heroes against the Anti-Mage, so... Options somewhat limited.
At the same time, you do need a fairly hard carry here, I would say.
Yep. Ideally, you want some physical damage as well. You definitely need damage output. What's that going to be, though? And you could try and sneak in something like a Storm, but his early game just seems so weak nowadays. And Spirit Breaker, you've got lockdown from him as well as Tusk to chase him down, so... And the Spectre you mentioned, like, it does feel a lot weaker now, but maybe that is something that's just like, well, we're kind of stuck. What are the options we've got left? Let's just get the Spectre. Rubik AA, good solid support duo to secure him early game farm, but still just does not strike me as like a obvious great pick here. And I think that's why Tongfu are taking so much time to think over what is available, because there aren't any real obvious great picks for to go with the Rubik AA.
How about something crazy?
I'm just trying to think like Weaver type heroes, but Wind Ranger comes out.
Please God, not Weaver. I saw enough of that from
Mason.
The High Council Wizards and Priests to last me a lifetime. That hero is just ass.
So this is Lockdown, another answer to the Ember Spirit, and actually good physical damage and carry potential. So Xinkyu and U9 on the Quap and Wind Range. We'll have to see which is headed mid, which goes to the safe lane. But I think Wind Ranger a pretty solid pick overall.
It's not easy to gank. It has a cancel for the charge.
Yeah.
It can be a hero that builds into an MKB and just focuses down like any... Oh, not MKB. A damage item and focuses down these tanky Ehome heroes like the Viper and the Spirit Breaker later on and gives you potential lockdown for Ember. So I think it does a bit of everything, which is what you wanted. Also a fairly independent laning hero. Definitely something you need against the aggression Ehome are going to be bringing to bear. Is Ehome do get their late game insurance policy with the Ember. That's something they were lacking last time. And Godz, this is a boots first Ember Spirit.
Damn,
that is extremely uncommon.
Some YOLO plays coming out from Ehome. The level 1 smoke into enemy jungle. Boots Ember will lead the way. Searing Chain's only going to have a 1-second duration, though. Assuming he goes for it as a setup. But then you've got the Ice Shards or a Snowball to back it up. So may even see a Flame Guard instead.
Pretty much anyone who gets caught to me is just dead.
Yep. And it's a Rubik leading the charge with Boots himself, but... he could be in a tough spot.
Everybody pile in. We're going for a little ride. Find an OPC, and then they get the chains off, and he will be the first one. So good execution there by Ehome. They commit a smoke. The Ember, the guy to get it. Very nice, considering that he went boots first. Ehome off to a good start, and they want that momentum that they had in the last game.
I wonder if they're even going to consider something like an aggro tri-lane out of this. Doesn't strike me as being a particularly good idea. Rubik, AA, Wind Ranger, Although if they're doing it, it's because they're dodging the Tongfu aggro trial, which does look like a possibility from Rubik and AA. They're both hovered around the top lane for now, but I think we'll see Tongfu supports be very flexible with what lane they end up in, just because they want to pressure the Ember Spirit's weak laning stage.
Speaking of that Ember, he's going to scout out the top room, but Quap will be the gal to grab it. Gets the bounty rune, Old Chicken matching that. So he will switch into the Viper. Very different hero this time around from the Invoker we saw last game. Classically a matchup that Viper wins 1v1, but then it's always about, well, what do you do with your advantage after the laning stage? Do you actually get runes? Do you push with the team? Are you able to fight? Or does Queen of Pain just run circles around you and just ignore the lane?
U9 already goes for the early Shadow Strike. I was about to say you often don't even get Shadow Strike because once he has Corrosive, you're just constantly proccing it, which is not really something you want to be doing as a Queen of Pain here, but does decide that he can go for an early point since Viper yet to get any Corrosive.
I think he had seen a poison attack get used as Old Chicken had expended some mana, but highly doubt we'll see much more of the Shadow Strike now that Viper's level 2.
Yeah, right off the bat, he's got a decent amount of harass onto Old Chicken, so the point is already being somewhat justified here. So Queen of Pain at least should be able to farm pretty well against the Viper, even though Viper, once he has some levels, will give U9 a rough time.
So they're going to run the Tusk Spirit Breaker dual lane, matching up against the tri-lane of Tongfu. But very high damage output tri-lane with the Chilling Touch, so a little bit tricky here to try and move in if you're Ehome. Looks like they just want to pull, play it safe.
And I think for Ehome, it's very much the kind of matchups they wanted. The Ember has the easier lane against the Clockwork, and for Tongfu, as much as they want to contest the Ember's lane, they're still going to probably just leave their tri-lane up top. Maybe the Rubik will look to head towards mid for a smoke gank or something, but Clock, with a fast level 6, can have a decent impact himself, so it's not the end of the world that they didn't get the tri-lane against Ember Spirit.
Already Xingqiu also enjoying the fruits of the lanes as he's 9-2. The Queen of Pain mid, 7-4. Still slightly ahead of the Viper, although things are getting tougher now that he's got the 1-1-1 up.
Yeah, this is a full-on tri-lane from Ehome at top now, so they've even brought 9M.
Ah, interesting.
Double damage.
So Ember 1v1, but with a first blood versus Clock. Tough lane for Clock, I feel, at this point.
Yeah, you want to just look to burn him as much as possible with the cogs, although he only just starts now. But yeah, CTY will have the gold edge, although Clockwork, on the other hand, will have a slight experience lead because of the early dual lane from Ehome down here.
And with this, you see an aggressive tri-lane. The nice thing is Ember, fast level 6, and then might be able to turn things around.
He's already got a TP on Ehome, so looking maybe for even an earlier rotation, as actually mid lane, U9 charged up, and unlikely to see this continue.
Got cancelled.
Yeah.
Had the DD still pretty far back. They are trying to zone Lanham and 11 a bit here. Trying to get aggressive. 17-4 for Xingqiu. Tongfu answering back to the Invoker game last time around with an almost equally impressive Wind Ranger performance. Of course, difference being she's in a very strong tri-lane.
Doesn't feel like the support Spirit Breaker can get much done this game. There's a Queen of Pain with a blink at the mid lane, a tri-lane which you can't charge into. You get lifted. Chilling Touch damage on 3 range heroes is just absurd as well, so I feel like the Spirit Breaker pick is going to be kind of a non-factor for some time here.
Can't really charge the Clockwork with the Cog story about, and if you do charge Quap, she's not dying until you get level 6. And at this rate, it's going to be quite a while for Cocktail. So I would agree with you. It's a tough early laning stage here. Maybe if CTY sets him up for something, then perhaps we see a kill.
So U9 will be looking for the 4-minute rune. There's actually a bounty still waiting for him at bottom, so he can get a double rune here. That's going to be some serious value, as he will refill his bottle and have a second refill available.
Very surprising that nobody checked, but then again, the 1v1 bottom, you don't want to miss out on any experience. So
gets a haste. Will head bottom with this one. CTY could be in some danger here.
Has no ward, has no idea, is not level 6. CTY in a lot of trouble. Quap blinks in, but it's behind him as the chains come out hitting Zex Bingo. Never activated the haster. An awkward way to gank for U9.
Yeah. Bingo, I think he had to wait for Bingo to catch him with the battery assault damage and didn't quite do that. He's going to just TP back towards mid lane, where Tongfu's actually abandoned the off lane with their supports, just saying that Xingqiu's Got enough out of the early game, has level 3, about to hit level 4, and they want to get him more solo experience, it looks like, with enough early farm going his way.
Shards come out, will connect onto Xingqiu. He's hanging onto the wind run for now, but they start bashing him down. Good jukes. Able to get away.
Meanwhile, mid the smoke.
It's a nice retreat and a lot of waste of time while Tongfu are making the smoke rotation on mid. Old Chicken just out of range of the Rubik lift, and it looks like they will survive.
Bottom, they're looking to line up a
the
Shackle
Viper.
now.
Shackle won't latch. CTY just struts away.
I don't think they get the kill on CTY anyways. You can't... If you try battery assault him down, he just runs with the phase boots and then Searing changes you to kind of break the gap between the battery assaults and himself.
The charge goes on mid. Lift is there. LPC up and down with Kanka. Doesn't want to pull him back towards himself.
Yep.
But now they've got their phase boots up a Wind Ranger, and Xingqiu, having been given the adjusted lane, will now face CTY 101 and will be the hero looking to shut him down. Although CTY going in, he's got the stick charges, has the triple remnant, could commit for this, wants to make sure he's going to get it. There you go. But he might freeze under the tower. That would be a fairly even exchange if he goes down. Tries to run away. They pop the Chilling Touch, the quick TP out, and he's going to make it. Ooh. 10-minute God working his magic.
Could have maybe held out with the telekinesis, but I don't think they're going to ever kill him just by trying to right-click him down when he can just phase boots away, so... CTY gets out with a nice pickup, a solo kill on the Wind Ranger, who was actually relatively farmed despite being only level 4. Bingo, though, himself is level 6. That's the benefit of having Clock with a 1v1 lane, is you get this fast level 6, and Bingo can look to...
And I like the fact he's already moving.
Yeah.
We see a lot of Clocks just kind of sit around, but...
He's scouted, though. That's the bad news.
Unfortunately, there's a ward.
You kind of got to expect this high ground ward, but... Right now, it looks like Viper either baiting or just feeling confident he can dodge the hook shot. And I think it is baiting. It's the latter.
Bingo a little.
He's got to anticipate being scouted. He was on both sides of the river and mid. He's got to know that there's at least a 70 to 80% chance something saw him. And swinging into the enemy jungle. He's just going off on his own on, like on a little roaming mission here.
Unfortunately, a Tusk Illusion's going to find him this time. There's no hooks for Bingo.
Yep. So he's going to have to find a new avenue of engagement. Has a TP, so he can look to just TP somewhere like bottom lane, but CTY's got Fire Remnants. A lot of heroes that aren't that easy to gank. Old Chicken on Viper, fairly tanky and protected by Vision. The safe lane farming Visage is maybe the best target for him to go on, but... hook shots are short enough cooldown. It's not really that important for him to go after a core hero, so getting the Visage, not a bad kill to find.
Speaking of that Visage, look at the space Lanham has gotten. 5.5 at 7.5 minutes on a support Visage.
Yep.
But not for long at this rate.
Yeah, it looks like with Rubik rocking up to this top lane, Rubik and Clockwork may go for a 2-hero smoke, but that's very obvious if you're Ehome. You're thinking, okay, Rubik's just camping behind Clockwork. They check his items, they see a smoke. This is a very obvious smoke to go for. If Ehome had just seen Rubik's items, they know there's a good chance this is coming their way, so...
At the same time, though, Ehome making their own dive onto the mid lane. Unai blinks up the hill. At that very moment, the hook comes out, catching out Kaka, pulling him into the Godz. Battery assault's there. Bingo may pay with his life, but a great Queen of Pain ult from the high ground. Unai catches too. They'll also almost find Old Chicken. Cold Feet will be proccing, it looks like, but that's while they're inside the snowball. And Bingo survives another big takedown. Tongfu just out fighting Ehome. And where was the hasted Ember Spirit through all that? I'm sure the Ehome fans are wondering. God, they really could have used him.
What was happening? Yeah, Ember had a TP and everything.
I think they just didn't expect Tongfu to be able to take that fight.
Very bizarre, because Wind Ranger has a TP in. They knew they should have known the Clock and the Rubik were headed that direction. They were just top with a smoke, and they spammed out the wave. When Rubik is fade bolting a wave to push it out, it's very much because they want to clear the wave so they can get into fog and make that kind of smoke rotation. So
without it being too obvious.
Yeah, it's hard for me to say because we can see both teams. We're not playing with that fog of war, but Ehome did have the knowledge that those two heroes were pushing out the lane. Did have the knowledge available there was a smoke, and they know Clockwork wants to look for that first level 6 hook. So I don't feel like that's a rotation that should have worked from Tongfu, and I think that was a very questionable dive from Ehome because of all of that they just seen and scouted. But Ehome, this is a nice little smoke. They bounce back, they respawn, they've got familiars now, and they will smoke up into the Radiant jungle. Looking to plant some probably aggressive wards and also find some pickoffs.
And look who they're going to find. It's old man Faith. Not running from Kaka, not running from familiars, just not running at all.
That's okay. Tongfu just lose their, what, one of their supports. They're poor of the two supports. And they also get the knowledge that Ehome are invading their jungle with wards. Dewarding the Radiant jungle, such a challenge though. So you never really quite know where he plants it. And I don't even know if they'll be able to deward what LANM just put down on the Visage.
Looks like 11 playing it pretty safe here mid.
Well, top lane, they're going to go in an LPC here, CTY.
Base turn was activated at the same time. LPC, though, just the chains connected initially, has a teleport scroll and is not going to use it. Well, CTY to get the killing spree. Now an additional remnant. He needs a little bit more mana to get out of here. He won't have it, and Tongfu bring him down. CTY punished for his insolence. Not worth.
LD, it's after 10 minutes.
The God stage is over.
He's fallen off.
What the fall to mortaldom commence.
Yep. Oh,
Tongfu are very good at counter-initiating, though. I feel like that they're very quick to just TP in and fight whenever they see a skirmish brewing.
Yeah, that's a hasted Ember.
Almost to a fault sometimes. Like they'll sometimes TP 2 or 3, and maybe it's not even worth it, or they don't even get anything done. But in this case, obviously, it does really pay off.
And we're seeing, I mean, Tongfu just drafting around like what Ehome had without like forcing themselves into a weak draft. The Spirit Breaker's been a non-factor because of picks like the Rubik, the Wind Range, even Queen of Pain with the Blink Escape. Clockwork's pretty good against the Spirit Breaker. It's so hard for Kaka to get anything done, and this is the second game in a row where it feels like the Spirit Breaker pick has been very lackluster.
So many ways to cancel the charge. 3 natively, and pretty reliably, I would say, and then eventually maybe even something like a Hex or a Yule's could frustrate the charge as well. Now Rubik gets Spell Steal. He'll grab Viper Strike.
Free Viper Strike.
Yeah, all day, all night. That's one you can always get.
This Viper is not looking the scariest here. Picks up an Ogre Club, so likely we see that BKB rush. Traditionally, it was always the mech rush on Viper. And with one, you can kind of sustain the mana pool to be able to use the mech as well as a Viper Strike and some poison attacks, but we won't be seeing the mech this game. Looks like that's going to come out of the Tusk.
Ehome are on the smoke. 11 leading the charge as they have Walrus Punch online. The Familiar is already active and perched on the high ground. No Radiant Vision to this one. Could be a good opening, but at the same moment, looks like Tongfu also on a smoke. Ehome will swing towards top to get a ward down in the lane.
Right, this top tier 1 tower is a death trap for anyone who tries to defend it. And Tongfu aren't even, like, either have that knowledge or just deciding they want to try and find picks elsewhere. Whoa.
Oh. Well,
they now get the knowledge.
Now.
Yeah. I think that wood got scouted being planted, but no sentries left for the Visage.
And they don't just want to stand under it. If you get hooked there with the potentially the follow-up of the Quapult Scream, you're in a lot of trouble.
And again, we see Tongfu planting a lot of sentries, but just not connecting with the D-wards. Ehome's warding has really just, I mean, it's kind of like being a subtle support outplay where he's getting all these great deep wards, plenty of vision, and none of it getting dewarded.
And then just to rub it in, they're dewarding the opposition.
Yep.
Hook does come through mid lane, but it's a swing and a miss for Bingo.
Right, but not an easy kill anymore with 1300 HP in the strength treads as well as the magic wand for some extra heal.
Not to mention the Ember counter gank. You always got to be careful about that.
Yep.
Even the Spirit Breaker.
Even pre-Orchid though, hard game for an Ember to just go remnanting into fight. The Shackle, the Hook, the Telekinesis, a lot of chain lockdown. And
yeah, much better to let them jump your Viper and then you go in.
Yeah, you want them to commit their spells and you play cleanup. AA's still not level 6, so I feel like this has been a timing where Ehome could have taken advantage of this, but haven't managed to do so, and Faith will get that level 6 shortly. If he can leech a bit more XP in either the mid lane or somewhere like in the jungle with a core hero farming out some neutral camps.
Just trying to find that little nook where he can grab it. Dropping a sentry now, and this will be a successful D-ward if he moves up a bit, but only would remove a sentry.
Yeah, that's not what he was hoping for, so...
Yeah, he really wants level 6.
And Ehome are just camping this mid lane. They actually are ready to dive this, and pre-mech make some plays happen. They just feel like they're strong. They've got Viper. This is the Viper Ember stage of the game where these two heroes are kind of at one of their early game peaks. And Tongfu don't have the best answer to them.
It's a slow siege here from Ehome. Not ready to commit despite having the Familiars as well as the Viper. Looks like they really want Tongfu to try to go on them and then counterplay it.
Another sentry just going to be off the mark. very disciplined play from Tongfu, but ultimately not amounting to much and is eating into the piggy bank of the supports. Faith just with Tranquil Boots. Not it's going to see a Midas anytime soon.
Ehome pulling into the lead now. Up by 1,500 gold, 2,500 experience as we hit the 15-minute mark. Orchid is coming for U9, though. Should be a reasonably fast pace.
And what we saw last game was Tongfu just hit their item timings and used smoke so ridiculously well that they found the pickoffs they needed. And it didn't matter that they kind of maybe got slightly outplayed in the early game lanes.
There's your hook shot, though. Debut of the Ice Blast as well. Bam!
Oh,
Gets two! He walked back into it. Costly death. Another good fight breaking out for Tongfu, but here comes the turn. The big 3-4 hero charge. Familiar's getting involved as well. Amber hunting. We'll finish off Xingqiu. 3 down. Kaka gonna be next to Quapple. We'll slice him up. So it's a 3 for 3 overall, but CTY suddenly up to 7.2k gold.
Yeah, that's...
This is going to be a fast Battle Fury if he wants it. Maybe he goes Lincolns. We'll see.
Yeah, ends up being a pretty even trade on gold, I guess. Queen of Pain and Ember, the two big red winners, as well as Visage. Visage actually got the most out of that as far as farm goes. And we'll pick up an early medallion. So we'll see Ehome look to secure Roche, take objectives. Very similar kind of playstyle the last game from the Dire side. This time around, slightly better catch potential, which is, I feel, where they 5-manned a lot last game but could never find pickoffs. With a Tusk, who can theoretically get a Blink Dagger after the mech, an Ember Spirit with Fire Remnants. I think they're going to have much better luck actually finding those pickoffs they need.
Speaking of Fire Remnants, LPC showing off his stolen Remnants as the siege recommences on the mid lane. Ehome, slow and steady, does it. Looks like they'll be bringing in the reinforcements of Xingqiu, rushing the Ags.
Oh, yeah. And CTY will have a Battle Fury, but still to be very cautious of the fast Orchid from Quap, which is almost complete now. About 800 more gold and U9 will be there. Or even less now. Just needs, yeah, about 400-500 gold.
Fast Battle Fury. No Manta Rush this time around. So
No.
Definitely a bit of a change-up.
And he will be vulnerable. Very much like you see like an Anti-Mage against the Orchid, vulnerable before he completes like the Manta after a Battle Fury. It's going to feel that way for CTY. That he can't be farming too much by himself. And that as soon as they pick up the Orchid, I'd be surprised if Tongfu don't go for a smoke to try and pick off CTY's Ember.
Speaking of smokes, Tongfu moving as though they want to go for one, but in fact, LPC, he runs into a lot. Has the Remnants available though, pops a third. He's got one more jump if necessary. Good jukes there by the little Rubik, and he will bounce back.
That worked nicely.
Coulda.
Just got the info that they needed, that, hey, top is actually screwed. There's a ward here, and they're also committing all their heroes to defend it, to take it down.
At the same time, not so lucky. Xingqiu feels like 20 stuns, and down he goes.
Yeah, that lockdown is crazy from Ehome. And they'll get a tier 1 mid now as well as the tier 1 top. CTY's Battle Fury coming out, and he's already going to have another 700 gold.
That Remnant dodge, nicely played. They are now going to have an Orchid Godz. So who can he kill?
He wants to kill Ember, but whether or not Ehome will allow that is maybe another matter. And CTY has got to expect this to be coming soon. Quap's had a great start. You're 3-0. It's 18 minutes in. This is like your kind of expected Orchid timing based on how things have gone. And here's the smoke from Tongfu. They've got Queen of Pain headed towards bottom. Alone for now, though. And this is looks to be where Ehome are focusing their next big effort as far as finding kills and getting some vision and wards down. Rocket Flare will give Quap the info he needs that, hey, this is actually not very safe.
Definitely wants to make a play with the Orchid, though. Let's see if he can find anything.
Time to hide. Your smoke wearing off. You want to find that pick. CTY is alone. Well, no, he's not completely alone, but he's vulnerable here against this Orchid. And
they could commit on him. They might lose both for it, but perhaps it's worth it. There's the lift, the follow-up Orchid debut, Quapple, and a Shadow Strike should be enough for the Shatter. No, the mech is going to save CTY, and now the turn. Tongfu will most likely end up losing to. In fact, will end up losing to. Rubik able to steal what looked like a sleight of fist there.
Yeah, he got the
Gets
kill
the
with the
Ember
sleight
at
of
the
fist.
end.
I was like, okay.
Still, they lose the Quap and the Rubik. But a nice little.
And Quap wasn't alive for the Ember kill. Rubik got 700 plus gold for killing CTY, so he's kind of the lucky winner out of that fight. Gets up to level 10 as well, but not the outcome they were hoping for. They very much were hoping to get out of there, but Ehome were in position, ready for it. Could have actually saved. C2I could have gotten out there. He actually went back in, got a bit greedy. He was just not expecting a sleight of fist from a Rubik of all things.
And it was barely enough, but it did get the job done.
Yep. It's going to be Xingqiu at top, just trying to focus fire down to T2 tower, try and get that trade.
Poke shot available. Just thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it.
Go for this.
There you go.
No Sonic Wave, though.
Blade Mail activated, though. This limits the options for Old Chicken as he tries to run away. He's very close to a BKB. Only needs about 100, but Ember arrives, turns it onto 2. The charge follow-up. They quickly surge forward towards U9. Jumping in once more. There's the Remnant. Has the Sleight of Fist. Did not have the mana. Did not have the mana for the chains, and perhaps LPC can get out with the stolen Flame Guard. He's going to keep on running. Sleight of Fist again. And, well, that's maybe too much. Is too much physical damage in the end.
No bottle before this Sleight of Fist, or he could have likely got a Searing Chains onto the Quap, but... Well, this is all going on. Xingqiu continued to pressure up the top lane. Is he going to get caught out here? Snowball won't land. So, slight trade coming Tongfu's way at top. They lost, what, Rubik and Clock from Viper, so... Support and off lane for the mid of Ehome. They bought some time for Windranger to get top, so... At least an even trade, and I think overall Tongfu are okay with that. Queen of Pain rocked up, helped get the 1 kill, so... Was some good farm going his way. To me, the bigger worry is just that it's not, for Ehome, it's not all about like a hero like Viper. If anything, a Visage getting farm and Viper dying is still like a decent kind of trade for Ehome, because Visage can make a lot of use out of having items this game. Already has a medallion, can look to build into either an Ag Scepter or even get the Solar Crest, wouldn't be too bad. And Ehome in a good spot to secure themselves Roshan if they want to.
So we'll see C2I continue to be the leader in terms of net worth now. He's going to work towards his first big damage item, I do imagine. He did not opt for BOTs, though, as we've talked about. Went for the early phase boots. He's been a little more active and aggressive, but it's now that time of the game where AA gets his Midas, Ember clears out stacks, your Queen of Pain kind of balances farming as well as ganking, and similar for Windranger, so... Could be a rather deliberate next couple of minutes as the teams gear up for a potential Roche fight.
Yeah, just the Yasha for C2I. No Manta quite yet, so he's still a bit vulnerable, but not going to be the end of the world for them. And Lanham actually goes for a gem now with a point booster, so map control going to heavily favor Ehome. We saw this last game. They're very methodical in how they look to take the game throughout like the 20 to 30 minute phase when they get this early game advantage. Last game they kind of fell off because they didn't keep up in farm, which is something which they're going to have a better job at doing because they've got Ember Spirit. He can be farming lanes and then come to a fight using the Fire Remnants if he needs to.
Uh-oh, LPC is being charged. He may lead the Spirit Breaker directly into U9's Queen of Pain, and does he get off a lift? Oh, he tried to turn at the last second, but too late. Now the double, triple bash it looked like with the charge, another strike as well.
Yep.
Enough to get the kill.
Yeah, so just the one solo kill on the Rubik. Not bad, though. They can just create space to try and push lanes out, grab that Rochelle's talking about, and Ember just going to keep on building up more farm, more items, and increase his lead over the Tongfu core heroes.
Yeah, you go Battle Fury first, but you're not punished. All of a sudden,
oh yeah,
scarcely 3 to 5 minutes later, it's going to be a Manta.
It feels like the Xingqiu Windranger is going to be a key hero for Tongfu to turn this game around, but his farm is just not holding up to the Embers for now. A few deaths, the one we saw in mid lane where he got chain stunned, and these kind of things start to add up, and that's where Ember is really far ahead. Still just takes one Shackle. Ember, the Manta will not help against the Shackle shots of the Windranger.
That thing follows you. No matter what you do, no matter where you go. It will always be with you, trying to ruin your day. And they move into the pit. Rocket immediately scouting this out. Does Tongfu want to contest? The ping comes.
They're still split pushing top. I think it's gonna be a let's trade farm for you getting Roshan, and I don't even know if you can call that much of a trade. It's an Ehome victory.
At the same time, Queen of Pain getting close to the BKB. That's pretty important. Xingqiu already has the Ags, can work on his Daedalus. Or at least a Crystalist for now. But yeah, C2I, first big damage item out. The TPs are coming top. Gotta be careful.
And knows that he could be getting
Blink
charged, so immediately blink TPs, although the charge was going mid. That's always the one nice thing about the Spirit Breaker pick, even though you don't always directly see it, like last game and this game, it's like it hasn't felt like the heroes necessarily had a big impact. It stops these solo split pushes, because you can't just back off into Folgo or the enemy jungle and then be safe. If you're already charged, they've got tracking vision on you, which makes split push game very difficult. That's why Spirit Breaker is so good against anti-mage, because the way that like Xingqiu as well as U9 have been playing the last 5-10 minutes has been kind of anti-mage-esque, where they're just trying to delay the game, pressure lanes, force you to rotate back and defend, but Spirit Breaker always causes that playstyle problems.
Oh, they saw him go into the secret shop. Are Ehome going to scout this? Oh, yes, they are. Sleight of Fist comes through. They found a Ginger, and they want to bring her home. Gets the shackle off. Familiar stuns. 1, 2. You're not going anywhere, Bubba.
Nice little attempt. Stun up the Ember and then try TP, but
the lane ward does the work.
I don't know if he'd seen the Familiars before he went for the TP, and would have actually been able to TP out if not for the Familiars.
Good effort, but does end up falling anyway in the end.
Ooh, that's another death on the Wind Ranger.
Blink in, Walrus punch as well. Now the Cog's getting dropped, but can't even make it out in time. Snowball's there to interrupt. Dex Bingo will die, though. He pays with some follow-up damage, and while that was going on, Wind Ranger's still trying to respawn here, so they're going to have to fight this 4v3. Ehome pushing down the mid lane, looking potentially for a fairly early tier 2. 26 minutes in with an Ember. Yeah, normally this is where you're just ganking and farming, but CTY has already completed the Manta. This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, he can't be brought down by the Orchid, has the Aegis as well, so he can play hyper-aggressive if he wants to go diving for kills, as CTY sometimes does.
Uh-oh. He'll dodge it.
Yeah. That's another great use of the gem. You do get to see the Ice Blast coming on in.
Well, with Rubik dead, he actually has buyback, and I think Ehome respecting the fact that's only a support. No need to rush it.
Can swing top, take another tier 2 if they want to. Ember's left a Fire Remnant around, so we'll be able to push up bottom, get some more farm, and then come back and join this team here in the top lane.
Old Chicken, he opted to go for a BKB. Hasn't really been much of a Viper game, as there's been basically no fighting, but quietly 3-3 and 7, and more importantly, 2,500 gold banked.
I think he's overall okay with it, because it means he does still have a 10-second BKB for when they're kind of ready to go for the high ground push. Which is something where if there's been lots of fighting and you're trading even on those fights and your BKB's getting down to 5 seconds, you're not exactly happy with that.
And he's also going to grab his own Yasha. Give himself a little late game potential here. 2 minutes until Roche.
They're actually charging bottom lane here. It looks like U9 with BKB shouldn't be able to get brought down here. Follow-up damage.
It's going to take some nasty bash luck to get this kill.
I think he's just trying to force out a BKB, potentially. Yeah, U9's like, what are you actually doing, mate?
Get your life together.
Yeah.
Well, they may have had some vision there on the Ice Blast, but not able to avoid it. CTY will take the damage. They Sleight of Fist forward onto LPC. Follow-up nuke from the Visage. Ehome getting aggressive now, wanting, after securing the tower, to find a kill. Sleight of Fist through. Charges there. But LPC tucks himself back in the base.
Yeah, so another tower going Ehome's way, and Tongfu not really getting anything elsewhere. There's still a tier 1 tower standing in mid as well as bottom. And it's completely different to what we saw last game when Ehome had the early game control. Tongfu just kept on out-farming them elsewhere, split pushing, and Ehome have been able to shut that down this game and continue to out-farm the Tongfu core heroes.
So, Godz, what's the timeline here for Ehome? They now lead by about 10,000 gold, 8,000 experience.
I don't feel like they're in a rush. Their late game's solid. As long as they're out-farming the Wind Ranger, I think their late game's much better, and this Wind Ranger's going to be in catch-up mode for a while. I don't feel like there's any need to force a high ground push anytime soon. Ember's really bad at high ground pushing. As I say that, he picks up a Deso, which is an item which is...
This is the game ender from CTY.
Yeah, won't have it for this Aegis cycle, but we'll have it for the next.
Yeah, I guess can drop his TP Arena of Aquila if he really wants it right now. Not an item we often see on Ember, but if you are sieging the base soon, then it definitely makes sense.
It won't come for another couple of minutes. Well, the sieges won't come for another, well, I guess, theoretically 3 to 6 minutes with Aegis expiring. But a decent fighting item. Very single target damage on the Rubik as well as AA is just going to destroy them. They do both have Tranquil Boots to boost up their armor a bit, but... Yeah,
you still look at the armor counts here. 7 on Rubik, that means he's at 0. Clock 12, that means he's going to be down to 5. Wind Ranger will be in the negative in terms of armor, and your Ancient Apparition will have 1 remaining. Last hero in question, U9, will also have -1, so... across the board. At -7 armor. Gonna do a lot this game, it feels.
But yeah, very much a fight now kind of item as opposed to the Daedalus, which will secure you a much better late game.
Yeah, if he just wants to farm until he's 6-slotted, there are definitely better items.
I'd like to see him still go back for the travel soon. I think he is starting to. You're starting to see the lack of mobility that just the phase boots give him. He's able to TP back and push out a lane if he leaves a fire in it there, but having the travels just gives you much better flexibility and the short cooldown on the TP. So I think even before he farms a Daedalus, upgrade to the travels and then work on your Daedalus. Even I guess you can't go for like Skadi and stuff anymore since you've got Desolator. So he is going to be all in on the Daedalus probably, or BKB if you really want to go for like a man mode frontline Ember, but
smoke from Tongfu, kind of a smart way to approach it. They leave 2 mid.
Yep.
They want to make sure they get up onto the high ground, and so they went from the left side and wrapped around, and now the Ice Blast coming out quickly, removing the Tusk from this fight, but do they get anything more? Kaka, currently Invis, is going to charge his way forward through 4 heroes, and then gets off the Nether Strike. Will live to tell the tale. Now CTY arriving, slashing his way through the enemy squad. 3 down, looking for more. That Desolator doing a lot of work together with the Visage.
Starting to have some mana issues though, and won't be able to chase with no mana for a Fire Remnant into a Searing Chains. And 3 for 2 trade, so they lose some of their kind of support utility heroes, and we'll be able to break through. And even start chipping away in the high ground here. Viper is probably the hero who's more item dependent to be able to break the high ground. You want Viper to be nice and tanky and start having like the extra stats that the SMI BKB provides to break through the tier 3.
Cue a bold leap forward, but will end rather rapidly as the siege continues in earnest. Up on front is the old chicken together with the familiars.
Ember's just waiting to heal up and will Remnant right back in if they want to continue this. I'm sure he's going to Remnant back anyways just so he can farm out the enemy jungle and push out other side lanes.
Well, space created for the supports. Now an Ags up on Lanham.
Yeah,
and now you combine this with the Desolator and the Medallion, which we haven't talked about, though they've had it for a long time. And you've got the -14 armor to worry about.
Oh boy, this next Aegis is going to be a big problem for Tongfu as far as pushing higher. I wouldn't even mind seeing the Aegis on Old Chicken's Viper just because it feels like he can just chip away at the tower better than an Ember can. Even though Ember is Deso, I don't think he can just go right-click the tower without taking huge damage.
And you can always Remnant buyback and then have an extra life on both of your carries as well.
Ember, like the Ember Siege is just really weak because he'll just get lifted, shackled, spammed down by Power Shot, Ice Blast, and you'll just lose the Aegis for no commitment from Tongfu. Having a ranged hero chip away at the high ground is just a much safer way of doing it. And also it's a ranged hero who's going to reflect that damage with Corrosive, so Viper Aegis to me is maybe slightly better for sieging. Ember Aegis is going to be better for fighting, so a lot of it depends on how they think the game will develop.
Well, apparently they think they need map control, as they have opted to buy gem on U9 of all players. Oh, by the way, we've not mentioned, but Lanham is quietly pitching a shutout here, Godz. He's 8-0-5.
Yeah,
what a beast.
And often you see like the supports when they take over that safe lane farm and the carry rotates off. That's when they're getting ganked and they're like the free kill on the map that gets bullied. But has not been the case.
Free. Oh, there's the hook. Beautiful catch. But CTY looking to turn around. They'll bring down the Spirit Breaker off the bat. Still in pursuit. And on the backside of the fight, looks like the Tusk managed to find a kill. Brings down the clock. They're going to slide in. Grabs another one. The Rubik. They chase forward. Ehome looking for a third, fourth kill. Blink again. Long range shards. Ooh, almost caught Faith.
Those are very close. And they're actually in the Roche pit as soon as it respawns. Like him just being the human observer ward there.
No, maybe one-man Roche soloing army as well. Probably could benefit from the Ember's help.
Yep. All minus armor as well as the crit from a Crystallis now. He's actually got the Daedalus in 450 gold. So you take Roche, you get your Daedalus. And we'll see. It looks like Ember with the item slot may just be taking the Aegis. It is a safer, more standard choice. It's very much all about, to me, it feels very much how do you break through the high ground. And I guess to go along with that, if you're not worried about losing the late game, you're not in a rush to break the high ground. So even if you don't get a lane of Rax out of this Aegis, because Tongfu make a really good defense, you're still in good position to win the game.
Seems like the plan maybe just hit the tier 3 once with the Ember and then let the familiars just bang away at it.
Yeah. Familiars, they've got really good high ground siege, regardless of who's got the Aegis.
Well, for now, 11 sitting behind Old Chicken. Slow, steady push.
And CTY sitting somewhat back.
So it's managed to grab 2 with the chains, and now the chains will be stolen. Interesting pickup for LPC, but towers fall. Sleight of Fist crashes through again as Ehome try to zone back Tongfu. Working on their base. Now the ranged racks. Daedalus complete. CTY, man, he is big. 20,000 net worth.
I just don't feel like... I mean, Rubik can't use the Searing Chains. He's better off just taking a Viper Strike or something at this stage, and they're just going to watch their mid-racks fall.
He almost killed Thief.
He may... Okay, they're not going to get the kill. Ice Shards just hitting the other 2. That's a free racks. Now they can swing bottom, top. At some point, Tongfu is just going to be like, wait a second, we're losing the game. Xingqiu has to go in for a Blink Shackle and try and set things up, but CTY is so far forward, there's actually no real good Shackle target because he's completely alone, zoning out the entire Tongfu team. I guess this is why you give him the Aegis, because he zones heroes while Viper and Familiars take out the base.
It certainly appears to be paying off as CTY will jump in towards the enemy well, wants to kill up Faith, and Xingqiu almost styles them both.
Dota.
Now the snowball, oh, fortunately not dragging them back towards well. They will lose their Aegis. Also the Tusk going down. CTY though has another life. Goes to work, gets hooked, first trouble, has a remnant available, push back, won't get it off. CTY goes down 2 times with the Aegis. A little sloppy.
Yeah, that's some CTY Dota. Both of that was CTY Dota. And now they're going to look to chase, get some more. They've bought back on the Rubik. Can they catch anything though? U9 will be looking for that Blink chase.
Hunting Lanham and Kaka together. Shackle's going to connect. They'll be able to bring down
Great
Kaka here. Spirit Breaker down, 3 have fallen. They may even get Lanham as well. The Familiars look to turn this. 1 stun. No, nothing just yet. Oh, just the 1 stun. The second and third a bit late. And Lanham 2 will fall. U9 on a killing spree. Then he does end a big streak there. 904 gold from the godlike streak.
Whoa, that's a big chunk of change going the way of Tongfu. A really nice hold. And yeah,
they had to commit just a Rubik buyback.
Yeah, it felt like what C2I was doing was like a decent strategy until he fire remnanted forward. He needed to just zone out with the Sleight of Fist and save the fire remnant to escape. When he used that one aggressive fire remnant, that was the undoing for Ehome. I think they just secured the bottom racks with constant Sleight of Fist harass, and if they ever go on you as Ember, you fire remnant out, and then wait till you heal up. If you even need to, you can drop another fire remnant, TP home, heal back up, and reset. But just a bit too ambitious from CTY.
Oh, LPC caught. Wanted to just TP home, go see his family one last time, but 11 is hunting him. Stopping on the creep wave, chucks out the shards, will actually connect and keep LPC somewhat left to his own device. And then Kaka Rise starts going to work with the bashes, but
they're afraid here.
They may need to retreat. Snowballing in, looking to engage onto Kaka. That'd be enough. Now the uppercut. They find LPC finally corralling and wrangling this annoying Rubik, but they haven't finished him up. The Glimmer Cape keeps him alive for the time being as Kaka chases, also escaping as U9. Can they kill anyone here? CTY, you're the cleanup crew, it seems. Lanham also trying to hunt down Xingqiu. And looks like the Wind Ranger 2 will fall, but while that was happening, he got picked off. They did lose CTY. It comes at the cost of 3 Radiant heroes. Yeah, but they lose their Ember nonetheless. Yeah. Shackle shot does them in.
Yeah, still overall a good exchange for Ehome, but yeah, CTY game picked once more. Can't buy back and push without the travels here, so I don't think we... Ehome, well, actually, there's 45 seconds plus on 2 cores, so likely going to see them try and force these buybacks. Their frontline Viper has a heart, so over 3,000 HP. Familiar's going to be good at pushing as well. If they've got Familiars, where are these Familiars? Looks like they maybe were taken out during all of that.
First buyback from the Wind Ranger. Let's see how brave Ehome are feeling.
Still no Quap here, and will be 4 heroes alive, guaranteed, and it seems they will opt to back off.
Well, is it time to wait for next Roche Godz?
Yeah, probably.
3 minutes to go.
Oh,
CTY feeling a little bit glass cannon-y at this point.
Yes. And considering you'll want to buy Boots of Travel soon means we won't be seeing like a BKB or anything or a Lincoln's. I think your defensive item is going to be your next item choice.
What do you know? A little blueberry to give you those antioxidants. Get your day started right. Thought they might leave it for Ember, but 11 has other ideas. Yeah,
no bottle and I guess expiring in 30 seconds. They're grouping up on him. It looks like they want to not wait for Roshan. They want to go now. They know Wind Ranger's buyback at least on cooldown, and Wind Ranger is the key hero to get Ember out of the fight. So if they can get a catch on the Wind Ranger, and if CTY can play around the Shackle Shot, this is a good move to go for. And I think Old Chicken is just farmed and tanky enough on this Viper. You play a little bit more cautiously with the Ember. You shouldn't have too many big problems breaking the racks, but this is the kind of counterplay. Tongfu smoke up. They're going to look to go on the back lines. Ideally, the Ember Spirit of CTY will be the target.
They come from the north. They've got a ward down. Familiars moving into position. Reluctant to engage.
Ignore the Viper, whatever. They're waiting for Viper to push forward, because right now Viper is actually blocking their engagement, which is the exact opposite of what you want.
They get onto the high ground, courtesy of the Viper. Now the hook comes through, connecting on Lanham, and U9 going to engage through this, but CTY stays back, will be healthy for now. XinQ also hanging back as a huge party erupts in the middle of the Cogs as well as the Shards now. Losing their Queen of Pain, has the buyback available, may need to spend it immediately. Old Chicken surging forward, tanks an Ice Blast, BKB to dodge the stun, and they force out the Queen of Pain buyback. They're also looking for the Rubik, who again, Glimmer stays alive for now, but U9 gets caught. Where's the help? He's going to die back in the end, out of the game for a very long time. Rubik even trying to run. He won't make it out, but they do lose CTY. Again, still Godz seems worth it. 4 down. And I don't even think they need the Ember. Tongfu finally pack it in. We are going to a deciding game number 3.
Not the most polished game, but overall, much better execution this game from Ehome. And they just had the draft, which shut out Tongfu a bit better. I think we saw some weaknesses in what they had in game number 1, but
I feel like getting that Ember hero is just so important for this team.
as a 5th pick too, that's where we've seen like very different kind of priorities in the Eastern scene as far as what's being picked at certain points. The Darkseer not quite as much of a top pick. Same with the Ember Spirit, and I mean like 3rd pick on Viper. Like that's not really something you'd normally expect. Didn't feel like a hero. Viper's a weird hero because it never has like a direct, obvious impact on the game. He's just impossible to engage on a team with a Viper without taking huge damage, and you kind of have to ignore the Viper, but he's always just going to chip away at you, slow you down, kite you, and cause problems.
Yeah, well, when that's the case, you've got the big damage dealers like a Visage and an Ember, then it can build some nice synergy for the team. So, guys, game 2 is a wrap. We're tied up 1-1. We're going to a deciding game number 3. Who will be moving on to the winner's bracket, and who will be dropping down to the lower bracket? We'll find out after this. Stay tuned. You're watching the Summit for China.